And I think it's getting ready now. So we'll go ahead and get started. Today is Tuesday, September 24th. It's 10 a.m. and this is Tuesday Talks, um, a online Zoom meeting with church communicators where we share about upcoming resources, ask questions, in essence, trying to help each other do the job that we were called to do but with way less time and way less money because that's the way it works, right? You can't get more time in the 24-hour day. And no matter what, we're always trying to squeeze in, oh, and then I can do this, and then I can do this. So lately, I've been trying to feature GCFA's local church services because they've got a lot to offer. And I know for me, I was not aware of all of the resources that were put together by GCFA. And one branch of that is ministry partnerships. And then in the ministry partnerships, there's tons of little leaves in there. And one of them, a huge one, is ministry brands. And Chris, I've talked to you quite a few times, so now I'm not really sure if I've actually invited you for Tuesday Talks before or not. This may be the first time, right?
This is it. Yeah, I'm happy to be
Yeah.
here.
Okay, thank you. So Chris and Leanne Benson, welcome to you both. They're both from Ministry Brands and Ministry Brands, like I said, it's got a lot of different resources to it. Today, Chris and Leanne are going to talk to us about background checks. I know every church is going to need to do this once in a while for volunteer purposes, maybe for staff. So, Chris or Leanne, do you want to walk us through that, please?
Sure. Leanne, do you have the slide deck? Are we able to share that? Uh, Hopefully quickly. And Leanne does have a few slides because she's the organized one and the fun one of the two of us. She's going to make sure to point that out later too. um, but first off, we really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Christina and I did have a chance to connect a few weeks ago, and she invited us as part of this effort. So it really is an honor just to be speaking with everybody here. I want to say that up close. My goal is just to give a quick intro who Ministry Brands is, kind of more of an overview, and then quickly hand things off to Leanne so she can talk to you about the protection side of the house is how we think of it. So all the background checks, pre-employment screening, and all of that we do as well. And then Leanne focuses specifically on a set of tools around the product is called Protect My Ministry. So she'll be talking about that here in just a second. Um, in terms of just introducing ministry brands, that's who we are right there. We help purpose-driven organizations grow and amplify their impact on the world. Well, what the heck does that mean? We really exist to help churches do what they need to do. So when you think about software that underwrites or undergirds any activity at the church. So if it's database management, if it's finances, if it's accounting, if it's live streaming and websites and communication tools, if it's background checks, we really have solutions to cover all of those areas. So a really wide portfolio of tools. We've been in business for about 40 years, only a little bit more than 40 years, really in the church space specifically. So most of, if not all of our tools are just purpose built for churches. So somewhere around 90,000 customers today, depending on who you talk to. We are by far the largest church tech, church operations software company in America. So that probably means in the world, but I don't want to, don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But definitely the largest software company serving churches today. We earlier this year finally solidified a partnership or a sponsorship with GCFA, which to us is a really big deal uh, because we feel like it gives us the stamp of approval and at least gives us the opportunity to work a little bit more closely with UMC churches specifically. So Christina, as long as we get invited back, I think we're slated to come back in a few weeks and really drill down into the church tools. So we call that part of the business Amplify. That really is the core of our product. So all of kind of what you see in front of you there. So again, everything from church management to online giving, mobile apps, website builders, live streaming tools for churches to use, the background checks, and you can just see the checklist there as we compare ourselves with the other companies that are doing the same thing. Personally, I'll tell you this: I've been in this world for about 15 years, in the church tech world, and I am definitely a person, and I think Leanne is too. Leanne and I meet together every week. We've been working together for the last year. I cannot speak for her, but I can say both of us personally are motivated by making sure that we serve the church. I really can't be overstated. Business is business, but I never ever want to be on the side of the table that's taking money from the church or sees the church as a marketplace. So even though churches need to spend money, and even though churches have budgets and have money coming in and tools that they need, the way I look at it is it really gives me an opportunity to be in ministry, but adjacent to it. So this is my way of serving. It's where God has me right now, and it's what I love to do. So all of those solutions, we'll come back and we'll talk about how all those things kind of fit together here in a few weeks. But today, I think I might only have one more slide that I teed up for my intro, but I don't. This is Leanne's Protect My Ministry intro slide. And I'm going to turn it over to her. I'll let her speak about that as much as she wants. And then, yeah, if you guys have questions, we'd love to answer as many as we can. And I appreciate being here. Again, I will say that. So, Leanne, if you're ready, you're on.
Thank you, Chris. And I just have to echo what Chris mentioned about really our goal is to help the church. One thing that I tell people all the time is when you got into ministry, you probably didn't get excited about like doing background checks. That's probably not why you got into ministry, right? So that's why it's really cool for me to be an extension of churches and ministries in this way, where I get to help come alongside churches to help in an area that where we are the expert on, and it kind of takes time off your plate, as well as we can help with pricing options as well. So obviously we are part of Ministry Brands, but Protect My Ministry as a company has been around for 20 years. A couple things that are kind of different about us as a company, as Protect My Ministry set apart, is we have our own database. So there are actually companies that come to us to pay us money to use the database where we're getting the information from to run background checks. We also serve 35,000 churches and faith-based ministries. And we have the way that we approach our customer base, which we churches, is very consultative. So, for example, if a law has changed in your area, we're gonna know about it. And if you come to us, we'll be able to really help you figure out the solution that's best for your area, so you're compliant, but also that you don't have to spin your wheels trying to figure all that out. We will be able to help with all of it gets confusing. Background checks just get confusing because of how the reporting works with it. I always have to put this in presentations just in case there are questions. I am not a legal person. I'm not your insurance company. So anything that I speak to as far as recommendations would be based, it's always good to get information from legal counsel as well. So before I go to the next slide, and Christina, I'll probably send this presentation to you because there's a lot of service offerings that we have. And that way people can look at it later, and they can also reach out with any questions that come up later as well. We typically have 2 different packages that we offer. So there are all these different checks that we have put into one package. The minimum package that we recommend is this Plus package, where it checks the national database as well as a county or a state search. Something to give you a little insight into the background screening industry is in the last 18 months or so, the way that records are reported has been changed from state to county, depending where you're at. So, for example, before, where you may have run a national check and that was enough for your church or ministry, now it's not enough because the local level is not reporting up to the national. So that's why we do a minimum recommendation of checking that national as well as on the local level, because that local level is also real-time data. So when we're checking those records, it's actually in real time. So there actually could, so for example, if someone a month ago had a report, they were convicted for something, it may not even roll up. It may take time to roll up to the national, or it may not, they may not report it at all. So that's something very important to know, because especially for people who are not in this industry, it can be very confusing, and you can think, oh, well, I checked the national, I did a national search, so that should be enough. But unfortunately, it's not. That's where also the consult comes into play. But with that plus package, it checks the national. We do a 50-state sex offender search that checks every single sex offender list, as well as an alias, maiden name, and checking on that local level. The other package that we typically recommend is this 7-year. It's very similar to the plus. And instead of checking just one county or one state, it goes a bit further. So I recommend this for anybody who's on staff or someone that you know has moved around a lot, because what this checks is every county or state that they've lived in the last 7 years. So when they enter all of their address history, we're going to check all of the addresses that they've lived at for the last 7 years for any records in those areas. This is really helpful for the transient society we live in nowadays. But like I said, I typically recommend it for a deeper, more thorough search. But we also have other services that we offer as standalone options. So this is why we like to have the consultative approach. We can, if you have someone that's driving, if you have a volunteer that's driving people around, we can do a motor vehicle search. If you are hiring someone to be on staff and you want an education or employment history, we can also do that as well. Another offering that we have is something called continuous monitoring. So with background checks, you look backwards. Continuous monitoring continues to monitor records. So the way that this would work is you would order a background check package, like I had mentioned previously, and add on monitoring. And it can be for 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year. The benefit of this is it can actually decrease your cost, especially if you're rescreening right now every year or every 2 years. You could do continuous monitoring and it actually decreases your cost, but we're continuing to monitor the records. This is something I've actually had ministries use that were almost like a halfway house situation, where obviously they knew that something was going to come up on their report from their history, but they wanted to continue to monitor the records in case they had a relapse and they were going back to old ways. So I've had ministries use it for that situation as well. And another offering that we have is child safety training. So we not just offer the background screening solutions, but we also have child safety training as an option. This is literally a link that gets sent out through our database. So you would just need to have their name and email address, and our database sends the link out. I really appreciate this child safety training as it's just enough information. It's not too much of a fire hose where it becomes overwhelming. It's about 45-minute long, and it goes over the warning signs for abuse that a child may be exhibiting some behaviors, or even looking at what does grooming behaviors look like in an adult that may be grooming a child, which as it's unfortunate that we have to have things like this in place, but it really helps not just the children, but the volunteer to feel a little bit more empowered and know, hey, something looks a little weird in this situation, so they can actually report it to whoever they need to. There is a quiz at the end of this training, so if they pass it, they actually receive a certificate of completion showing they've gone through this training. So that is, and if any of you are interested in seeing a preview of this, you can feel free to reach out to me. My email address is at the end of this. It's actually on the next slide, so that you can actually reach out and I can send you what that looks like too. And this is why I said I'm the fun one, because Chris has his headshot and looks so professional, and I'm over here with the wall mural. But I really appreciate just taking a little bit of this time with you guys to discuss, Protect My Ministry. I have my information on this slide. If you are interested in learning more, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. If you currently have an account with us and you need support for your account, the support email is on here as well. And Chris, I'll let you speak to the GCFA link.
Yeah, let me jump in really quickly. Thank you, Leanne. I should have said this before Leanne spoke. Leanne, just so everybody on the call understands, is not Protect My Ministry salesperson. She really handles all of our partnerships. So every organization or conference or something like that wants to take advantage of bulk ordering prices and those kinds of things, that's really what she handles, and does webinars and podcasts and training events all throughout the month. Every month, she knows this set of products really inside and out. She's not ultimately the person who would sell you background checks or sell you a package. If you're interested in learning more about Protect My Ministry, definitely reach out to Leanne, who will connect you with the sales team. The other thing that Leanne is doing with this is when we formed our GCFA partnership sponsorship earlier this year, PMM wasn't specifically included in the agreement. So when it comes to the church management side of things, those church ops softwares, we already have special bundled pricing for UMC churches, specifically special levels of service that are really unique to UMC. And that's the link that you see next to my name there, or my professional headshot picture there. That's clearly they've done some photoshopping, but that's what that link is. So I really invite everyone on the call to get to that link. We will share the slide deck, like Leanne said, after the call, but that's where you'll go to learn more about the church management tools and ministry brands in general, and what our partnership with UMC looks like. And those, every time somebody clicks on there and requests more information, that comes to me, but it also goes directly to someone from our sales team that'll reach out. So for now, those two things are a little bit separate. We didn't want to leave you with a confusing slide, but I want to let you know, if you want more about Protect My Ministry, Leanne is your person all day long. We are working on finalizing that in the GCFA agreement, just so those prices are set for you guys as well. So there's not a whole lot of negotiation that has to happen. You can still negotiate with our salespeople, but at the end of the day, what our job is to deliver you quality products at the lowest price and make sure that we're doing it in a way that serves you and also keeps our business going. So just two different pieces there. Again, we're going to come back and talk more specifically about the ministry brands tool set, but today is really about Protect My Ministry. And I just want to let you know, Leanne is a safe person. She's not here to sell it to you, even though our salespeople are safe as well. She's really the one that's going to handle the partnership, and she sees a much higher level view of what's going on than other people you might connect with.
Fabulous.
Also want to say this,
That-
we're one of the only church tech companies that has our own in-house background check service. So I know Leanne mentioned that, but that's really important. We don't have to go out to a third party and get this information. We generate it in-house, and there are a lot of companies around the country that come to us for that data lake. So it's important to know, I think.
Hey, Jim has a question. Can you give us some idea of pricing on the Plus package?
So that's something, once you come to me, I'll get you exact details, but the plus is about $20 per check.
And our goal
Oh.
would be to try to bring that down through GCFA and through some kind of, we need to work with the conference specifically to be able to bring you guys better pricing, but I'm going to go back on mute unless you need me.
That was great. Thank you. Anybody else have a question for Leanne? Now I can't see everybody, so if you do, here we go. Okay. Well, thank you, Chris and Leanne. I'm going to share my screen real quick just to try to make sure that this is the link that Chris was sharing. You can see on the top ministry brands and UMC support. This is where you can see a little bit more about what ministry brands offers. And you can, I'm going to include this link in my follow-up notes to you all, so you can take a deeper dive and check it all out on your own and fill out the questionnaire if you have questions about it. Stop sharing. I just wanted to, share that piece as well, because what is it called? Protect my
Protect
ministry.
my ministry. Yes.
Thank you. Is one piece of what Ministry Brands offers. So I just wanted, I think your last slide did that, but in case there was any more questions, I just wanted to share that a little bit. So thank you both. And yes, Chris will be back to talk about other things that Ministry Brands offers. I welcome you all to send me an email with a question for Chris about any piece that you see about Ministry Brands, and I'll relay that to Chris, and we'll be sure to cover that in an upcoming Tuesday Talks. Right now, Chris is scheduled to come back. Got my list here somewhere.
No, it's in about
Well,
4.
he's scheduled to come back.
Yeah.
Go
I
ahead.
think the 29th, I think, but I don't even know if that's a Tuesday right off the top of my head.
Ministry Brands. Oh, that was September 24th. Yes, October 29th is when Chris will come back. So be sure to send your questions early. And that's just the next time that Chris is going to be back. There's so many things about Ministry Brands that would be good information for our churches to know about. So Chris will come back and come back and come back. Just keep those questions coming so he knows, hey, this is what we need to talk about. Right. Thank you both for your time and this presentation. I appreciate you. And we'll move on to the next item for Tuesday Talks today. Here. So what was the next step? Today's
Christina, do you want us to hang out or do you want us to drop off?
You're welcome to hang out. This information's for our churches, so you've got other things to do, so you can head on out.
Okay.
If you
Well,
want.
thank you, Christina. Thank you again. Really, thank you, and looking
right.
forward to the next time.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you,
Nice
guys.
meeting you both.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so the next one is labor laws compliance. I'm going to share my screen again so we're all on the same page about what I'm talking about. So there was an announcement. I want to say it started in June. I've had some news items about the labor laws changing, and once in a while I get questions about this, but some of the questions that I may get is, does this apply to our clergy? And no, it's not for clergy, but it is about church staff. So you want to, number one, take a look at your church's payroll policy. I would love it if every one of our churches filled out this survey, and I'm going to include the link in my notes to let us know whether or not, you've already looked at it. We don't need any help. We get it. We're in compliance. We're going to be fine. Or if you have a question or two or want full-on training, GCFA's Human Resources team is using the entries from this form to track which churches need help and which ones don't. And if any church has questions, they're going to follow up with that church. If any church needs some one-on-one training or maybe just a group training, that's what this form is going to help inform them of, is what are our needs, and then they'll just follow up with those churches that do need help. Some of our churches have already filled this out and let us know, nope, we're squared away, we're ready, we're done. So those churches won't get any more follow-up from GCFA's HR. I'm not part of HR, so I don't have answers about the labor laws. But if you have questions, I encourage you to put them in this form. But questions about this survey, does anybody have questions about this survey?
Who was this?
And there was a,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
Who was this sent out? Was this sent out to like financial people at the church? Do you have contacts for them or?
Yeah, so thank you for asking that, Chris. So I don't have everybody's contacts, but what I did is I sent an email to all of our clergy that's appointed to a church. I sent it to all of the SPRC chairs that we have. And right now we're just entering charge conference season. So the SPRC chair that we would have is whatever information that your church provided for last year charge conference. So if you had a switch for this year and you haven't had your church conference yet, that means we don't have that new information. So that old charge conference chair would have had it. The other one that we sent it to was in the churches that have single board governance. We sent it to the members that we have in our database, again, for last church conference. So if that's changed, we don't have the new information yet. And then I also sent it to whatever email address that we have for church communicators. No, it was a church community or church office. One of those two, I don't remember. But so if your church, if you're watching this now or watching the recording and you hadn't heard about this, maybe you talked to your pastor or your SPRC chair, they didn't hear about it. You're going to have the link to this survey. So please go ahead and share it with them, ask them to fill it out. We just need the one time to have it filled out. But if more than one person from your church fills it out, that's okay. It's not hurting anything. We're, like I said, trying to compile the questions to prepare a good training resource. There was a webinar that was shared before, and the recording is available. So I will be sure to include the link to that in my follow-up. Write that note, include webinar recording, because that could be helpful. And actually that webinar recording was included in the email that I sent out that has the survey, but I'll include it in my notes. Okay, any other questions about that one? Okay, let me include. Okay, so the next one I wanted to share about is the, let's see, who is it from? I think it's Church and Society, yes, has grants. Their grant season has opened up already, and I think it started on September 20th. And so they've got 3 different grants. It's the Peace with Justice grants, Ethnic Local Church grants, and Human Relations Day grants. It was originally published here. I've got all this information on the article that I published, but if you've got questions, you can contact grants@umcjustice.org. And while I'm on the subject of grants, so real quick though, any questions about the grant process? Okay, then we do also have, FYI, a page where we try to compile on the conference website any of the grants that we've heard about. And it includes a button if you need some help with a grant, whether it's writing for a grant or want a professional to help you with it, we've got that type of contact. These are the people you can also reach out to. Here's the list of grants that we know of. And then sometimes there's loan opportunities as well. And if you wanted to learn more about grant writing. So this link is dscumc.org/grants. I will include that in my follow-up notes. Questions about that one? Okay, the next thing, let me double check my list. Okay, is church news in district or conference newsletters. So we've got our different newsletters, and some of it's specific to Earth Care, ethnic local church concerns, all kinds of different newsletters, and you can subscribe to them at dscumc.org/subscribe. What I want to receive from you first is questions about, something that you want to share in district news or conference news. I'll share with you the policy, and then if you have questions about it, I'm happy to answer those questions. So if your church has an event or a resource or some news item that you want to get the word out about, the type of things that we can accept for the district newsletter and conference newsletter are things that are unique, things that would have a collaboration opportunity, like a church to church type of thing. If it's just, and I don't mean to say just, I mean, all of these things, their church events are important. They have all kinds of different purposes. And, but the newsletters are for our church leaders to help them have the resources they need to further impact ministry, to learn about upcoming opportunities. And those types of learning things would be, again, to help them grow in their own ministry. So if what they're going to learn about is a church rummage sale or a special Christmas worship service that your church is having, that's not really something that's going to help our other church leaders grow in their ministry. But if you were having something like, gosh, I can't think of something right off the top of my head right now. Let's say you were paying to have some nationally known speaker to come to your church to talk about social media outreach. Well, that's something that other churches in your area could be very interested in attending. So that is something that we could include in the district newsletter. And right now, I mean, for a time there was the pet ministries, the blessing of the pets. That was kind of a new concept a few years ago. And maybe it's been a little longer than a few years, but it's not something that every single one of our churches does. So once in a while, we'll include something like that, as it's not necessarily a collaborative. I mean, sure, other churches could decide to share it so that they could bring their pets to your church for the blessing of the pets service if they don't have one. But something like that is kind of unique. It's a new way of reaching out to people. And I mean, it's not so new, but it could be new to your church. So we'll still continue to share stories like that in district newsletters as inspiration of trying something new, reaching different people, how to connect to your community. So that's also another type of news piece that we can include in district newsletters. What makes conference news, it really needs to be something where, if it's something in Phoenix, that somebody from one of our Las Vegas churches would fly out to Phoenix to attend it. So again, a rummage sale, probably not. But if it was that nationally known speaker that you got to pay, $3,000 to come and do a training at your church, maybe that's something that a North District church would fly out to or want to zoom in and watch. So keep that in mind. Do you have questions about that? The other thing I'll share is, so we're working with our communication commission to fine tune this stuff, right? So we may change it a little bit depending on what the commission decides. You know what, things have changed. We should really now start whatever, then we'll shift. One of the things that we're playing around with sometimes, and it's not that we're playing, we're testing, we're trying different things, is how often to include local church news, how often to repeat it. And so that kind of thing will be adjusted. We're trying to make sure that the information is out there. And as you know, sometimes you have to put it out more than once for people to really see it or build up the nerve to click and read it. But we don't want to do it so much that you've seen it, and now you're going to ignore our news because I've seen this thing 5 times in there. So trying to find that right balance. Sometimes you'll see some things a little too often and some things not often enough. We're trying to figure out that balance, and we'll work closely with our communication commission to figure out just how often is good enough. Because we want to support our churches. We want you to have the information, but we also don't want to inadvertently push you away because you're sick of looking at the same stuff. So bear with us in that. I'm sure it's the same type of stuff that you're dealing with your church members sending out your newsletters. So that's what we're working with. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next item. Okay, so the last piece that I want to share with you about is, I'm going to share my screen again, is so coming up for our Tuesday talks, it's not until November, but because I've got GCFA scheduled for quite a few Tuesday talks, I'm starting to schedule other agencies and starting with UMCOM. So you're going to see this announcement about social media Q&A on Tuesday talks. And this particular one includes a form in there so that you can enter your question about social media so that I can send this stuff. So this form automatically populates a Google Sheet that Stephen Adair, the Director of Local Church Services from United Methodist Communications, has access to. And I want to give him as many questions as you all have. He's going to stay on for the full hour if we want him to, or just for 15 minutes if there's not really a whole lot of questions. He'll just give us some of the FAQs that he's aware of. But I want to make sure, again, that you, our church communicator, has what you need, and you may have it all worked out, and maybe you just want somebody with Stephen's experience to give you some feedback on, is what you're doing headed in the right track? What else could you do to tweak it just to make it a little bit better? What are those markers that would show something like that you can check every month to see, are we gaining ground here? So any of those types of questions, put them in there. And I'm also asking for, if somebody hasn't heard of Tuesday Talks, because this is going to be in the next conference newsletter. So people can also put in their questions or ask to be invited if they haven't been a part of Tuesday Talks before. You all have received this invitation regularly, but there's still people at churches that don't know about Tuesday Talks. It includes pastors, it includes church communicators. Staff and volunteers change, or email addresses change, and I don't always get the update. So this is just a quick follow-up, I guess, a reminder. Be sure to tell other people about Tuesday Talks if you find it valuable, and be sure to send me your questions. If you happen to have a question about something or an idea for a future Tuesday Talk topic, go ahead and fill out that social media questionnaire, or send me an email and include that topic there, because Stephen Adair also, he's a director of a full team at UMCOM, and he's also agreed to come back to do more Tuesday Talks to provide information about other things. They do stuff about like branding, about logo development, about what makes a good website, all kinds of stuff. So these questions, the entries in this form, he's going to see it, and he'll be able to know what other topics we should cover on a future Tuesday Talk. Questions, comments?
Christina, the article said 2025 in the year, not 2024.
Oops, thank you. I will fix that.
Like, wait a second, that seems rather far away.
Yeah. Fabulous. Thank you for that. I'll fix that. It'll be in tomorrow's weekly digest. In the meantime, does anybody else have something that you want to share about your church? Events maybe that are coming up? Okay, well, keep an eye out. Today's district newsletters includes a checklist planner for your communications. Actually, I think it starts from September through the new year, I think. So watch for that. And I don't know, use it for preparing your communications, making sure you've got everything all set. It's from Resource UMC Fall Planning for Your Church. I'll go ahead and include a link to that too. All right, then if there's no other questions, nothing to share, I'm going to let you go. Today was a particularly long Tuesday Talks. Sorry for that, but we're still within the 1 hour. I will see you all, I believe, next week. I will include notes about what we're going to cover next week in my follow-up notes. Right. Bye, everybody.